Katie, the microphone is yours.
We are here live, and we are going to be running through the Good Governance Championship. What does success look like? I actually have to say that success on good governance isn't this stage because we don't have gender equity. We're going to go to a video, are we? If not,
This is a massive test.
because we do have quite a few.
That unites the world. But its values are under threat. Increasing cases of corruption, criminal infiltration and abuse are tarnishing its reputation. Winning cannot come at any cost. SIGA is the world's leading organization for sport integrity. Our goal is to provide trust, assurance and credibility in the industry. SIGA's independent rating and verification system pioneers better governed sports, financial integrity and transparency, sports betting integrity and youth development. Sports organizations are the custodians of the game. SERVS is the assurance that they are fit for purpose. SERVS is the assurance that the reputation of sport and the wider industry are protected. Join our global movement. Be the leaders of change.
Fantastic. And we have 4 leaders of change on the panel. I'm not going to do introductions. Your names and job titles are up there, and it's too fascinating a topic, so we're just going to jump straight in. And I'm going to go to you, Alberto. You're from the European leagues, and can you just set the scenes for us? What are the biggest challenges facing European football right now?
Maybe yes? No, okay. Thank you, Katie, and it was a pleasure to be here, so thanks for the invitation to Emmanuel, and of course for the broader event to Liga Portugal. Katie, is a big question. You know, we will need probably a couple of days to answer to this question, because there are, I mean, the governance of sport in general, the governance of football, it's super complex. You know, I'm not saying that it's a mess, but it's super complex. And there are different angles of the governance. We have been mentioning before on the previous panel the governance of clubs in terms of ownership, right? It's quite a symbolic one. Because we have in Europe clubs that are owned privately. We have clubs that are owned by members, and we have even hybrid system like in Germany, right? So that to pretend that the same clubs are playing in a fair way in the same competition, sometimes it's different, because this also refers to the capability of these clubs to financial themselves, you know, and you can make easy comparison between, for instance, a club of the Premier League or a club of the Bundesliga with the famous 50+1 rules, you know, just to mention this, or just to mention one. It's funny because then you look at the governance of football at domestic level, at national level. In our organization, when we started with Emmanuel back a few years ago, we had 7-8 leagues as founding members. Now we have 40 European leagues member of our organization, and we have 40 different governance system at domestic level. It's impossible even to compare or to find very close similarities between the governance in Spain and the governance in England, or the governance in Italy and the governance in France. This from one side is positive because give to the authorities and the football authorities at domestic level the autonomy to run football in the way that they prefer, but also taking into consideration the habits, the culture, but also the national context. On the other hand, it's not, as I said, it's not easy, because this means that you have countries where the leagues sell their media rights collectively. You have other countries that they not. You have leagues that sit and have a proper important position in the General Assembly, and this means they have a voice and a say at federation level, and in others you have not. and therefore, you know, there is a specific challenge that every country needs to face. And for me, it's important. Actually, it's quite astonishing that we are in 2023, and the leagues that are the industry of football, because the leagues that are industry of football are the leagues that negotiate, the leagues and their clubs that move the business, that they negotiate collective rights, they negotiate media rights, commercial rights. National federation are super important as well, but the industry of football, the locomotive of football, are the leagues, and we are in 2023, and still you see that in the governance of a federation, regional association or amateur football, they might account for 50% of the votes, so that they can easily control the decision and the future of football without taking into consideration who is paying for that, you know. Mm-hmm. Finally, I think, and then of course I leave the floor to my colleagues on the panel, there is the governance at international level, and this is probably the ones that worry us the most, because leagues are squeezed lately, not lately, I mean, there is a trend during the last 10, 15 years, and unfortunately the future is not super bright, because you have international organizations like FIFA and UEFA that have the ambition that is not only the ambition, they are growing their calendar, right? You know, so every other year there is whether a refurbished competition or a new competition, and they are basically taking the space of the leagues in the calendar, right? So the league are squeezed, and they see their competition getting smaller or more crowded season after season after season. And there is this capability in the governance model at international level for both FIFA and UEFA to taking the decision in a unilateral way, right? I mean, yes, there is a process of consultation, there has been implementation of new good governance committee with the involvement of the stakeholders, but, you know, often more than a process of consultation is a process of information, right? So that FIFA and UEFA and this big organizing body that year after year, they are becoming more competition organizer than organizing body, have the capability to keep organizing new competition, taking our space, and they can do this without actually maybe really listening our, you know, our opinion and the opinion of the domestic football. So I think these are probably the major challenges, but as I said, we will need much more time to speak about that.
A whole matrix of challenges, and I'm going to go you know, from league level to club level, from Europe to Brazil. What are the biggest challenges, Roberto, from Sao Paulo FC's perspective?
Well, thank you, Katie. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Siga, and thank you, Liga Portugal, for the invitation. I'm really thrilled to be here with my colleagues to bring some information about Brazil governance. It's a nice question. I could take 80% of what Alberto said here in Europe applies. We live it in Brazil. I would say, to answer directly, the framework of governance we deal with in Brazil with most clubs is from the last century. Therefore, we must modernize this framework and make it work much better with much more modern standards, and that's what we are trying to do in São Paulo FC. And compliance and integrity is the key of this process. I believe that every clubs in Brazil will soon work with compliance and integrity. There are not many of them at the moment, but we are leading a movement, and I am pretty confident that really soon we will change the game with good governance in Brazil.
Thank you. I'm going to go to you, actually, Paulo, and then I'll go to you, Vitor. Changing the game, that's what Liga Portugal have done. You are the first pioneer sports league, football league, to go through the SIGA independent rating and verification system. What motivated you to be the pioneer?
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for the microphone and for the invitation. Thank you, Emmanuel. Always a pleasure to see you. We go back more years than I want to remember. It's always a pleasure to see you again. Hi all. and hire you. This was a very challenging process. I mean, we had gone through 3 certification processes before, and if we hadn't, we wouldn't be able to have gone through yours. But we had identified, we had the quality management system, the information security system, and also the anti-bribery. But we lacked the good governance one, which you provided for us. We have been on the forefront of certifications in Portugal. We've been trying to bring our clubs in this journey with us. We've been moderately successful with that, but we've done our homework, and we're trying to show through our example what they can do. It's not just because we wanted to have the flag hoisted outside. It's because we recognize value in these certifications. And it was a huge challenge to go from very specific areas of certification to a more broad one, such as yours, because then we had to revisit our statutes, our general regulations, and realize whether we have to change them, and we do have to change it at certain points. But then we realized that many of our practices were good practices, which we had to rethink to frame them in a way that we could explain to you guys and to the British Standards Institution that they were compliant with your standards. We are in the process of reviewing our statutes, and this process gave us huge feedback on how to do it better and how to improve our general rules in the organization of the association. Of course, we have different challenges than other institutions. We have clubs as members and also as in the board of directors. That presents huge challenges to demonstrate to our auditors that we do have good practices, for example, in checking their backgrounds. But this is clubs we're talking about, so we actually do have to have 2 backgrounds, both of the person the club indicates and also the club itself and the owners of the club. So we have double the work, but this has proved a good recipe for success.
Fantastic. You see, I couldn't have asked him to say anything more, because the standards are designed to be universal, to have an entry point. They're in 3 tiers, everybody. They're bronze, silver, and gold, which is good, better, and best. And you can elect which is the entry point. Going on to you, Vitor. During the serves panel, you were not there with me. I was actually in Sao Paulo on Monday doing the panel on serves, and we did it in Portuguese and in English. And excitingly, we launched the Portuguese translation of the Good Governance Standards, which is our first language for it to be translated to from English. So that was very exciting. The MasterCard representative from Brazil said, and I love this, you can treasure what you can measure. What are the benefits of a trusted industry?
First of all, thank you for Emmanuel for the invitation, and thank you to invite me to be a part of this wonderful movement that is called SIGA. Of course, that we are talking about an industry with billions of persons with an impact, wonderful impact in the persons. Also leading with millions, billions of dollars and euros. So it's a very important thing. And what happened is that in the standards for accounting or for other situations, we have standards and we can make some measures of the standards. But there are some other things that, like governance, like ethics, that, like integrity, that is much more difficult to have any kind of evaluation. But I work a lot in the social sector, even as an auditor, financial auditor. And one of the things that I learned in the last 15 years is that we have to measure in the social area, in the social economy. Imagine that there were no measure for the movements of the projects, that the organizations, non-profit organizations can do. What happened is that the investors, future investors, future financiers, future entities, public entities that can follow the support the projects. They want to know what is going on. And the best way, the accounting, I talk against me, but the accounting is not enough. And even in the sports, the accounting of the organizations, of the clubs, is not enough. Of the federations is not enough, because there's something else that they have to do. There's something that they have to measure in different ways, not in the accounting way, but in different ways that they have to measure. And that is very important to make the comparison and to make confident the people that can invest in the future, the people that can be part in the future, that can finance in the future. So it's really very important to have any kind of a measure to understand what is going on. Mainly when we have, as the first speaker said, many leagues talking about football, many leagues with so many different ways of making his governance. And just one thing, finish, that the importance of these situations, of the normalization, the regulation, standardization, is so big that nowadays, returning to the accounting process, the International Accounting Standards Board is now developing a new standard for ESG, Environment, Social, and Governance. What means that the standards that they have, and they have many standards, 50 standards or something like this, were not enough. We need to have standards, we need to have measures to things that are more difficult to measure, and that the accounting, for instance, or other ways of measure were not enough.
Excellent point. The SIGA Universal Standards, just for everybody who's not familiar with them, there are 4 core areas: good governance, which is the bedrock of sport integrity. Then it leads to financial integrity and transparency, which is very prevalent for football due to the amount of money involved. Youth development and protection, and sports betting integrity, and they are tailored specifically to sport. So they're online, so you can download them there. You mentioned, Vitor, two C words, which are confidence and compliance. I wasn't going to swear, don't worry. I want to go to Sao Paulo FC. You joined SIGA as a member on Monday, so big it up for Sao Paulo FC as the latest SIGA member. Woo! How can SERVS be a useful tool to support clubs like Sao Paulo's ongoing governance journey? And what is your call to action for other football clubs around the world using Sefrin's comment last year to follow their trail?
Well, good question. We share the same purpose towards integrity. And since in Brazil we are in changing culture movement, I believe that if we have to wait till the culture really changes without any thing showing that it has changed, we should have to wait too much. Then SERVS, and prior of SERVS, I had the rating Integra in my as a goal for my program, for my integrity program. I believe that it's really important to bring trust for what we will have changed in governance in São Paulo FC framework, internal framework. That's the most important for me, and that's why SERVS is a goal, and we expect, not this year, but maybe the beginning of next year, try to reach this important goal. And I believe that in Brazil, after we, São Paulo, reach not only the integrity program so structured, so strong as it is right now, I must admit and confess, when everybody, the other clubs, see that after the serves, we can talk with so many sponsors that at the moment are not talking with Brazilian clubs, then I believe that everybody is going to go after serves. I believe that in this moment, to be short, we in Brazil, we are working with sponsors mainly in the betting industry, and they are good for us. That's nothing wrong with this. We do really deep due diligence to work with them before working with them. But I believe that we have to make this market much bigger. And without the trust, without being able to treasure what we will be measuring, the quote is really fantastic. We won't achieve this. And I need the certification, I need service to do it really as fast as I want.
Thank you. I wrote down a comment just before, which was just there to say, where there is accountability, there's credibility, and where there's credibility, there's value. I would like to ask, having gone through serves, Paulo, Liga Portugal, what's been the reaction from your sponsors? You've obviously done you said that you've been doing standards assessments and audits. And I don't know if you could play the video, it's silent in the background to this, but we're going to carry on anyway. It's an amazing unveiling of the flag of you getting the bronze award. Why is it important to be independently assessed from the We don't want the sound. No sound from the video.
Thanks. So we went. I'm going back to what Alberto said, that the good governance in Europe, it's not a mess, but it's complex. And that's what standards are for. Standards set you the baseline which you have to attain to be credible, to be accountable to your stakeholders, and to have a good product to offer your sponsors. I can't say we have huge response from our sponsors, because this is a hugely new process that we've been through. It was 2 weeks ago that we unveiled the flag in Liga Portugal. We're hugely happy for having done it. But this is, as I said, the baseline. Bronze is your baseline in your service certification process. And in this exact ceremony we're watching now, the league president said, we are going to aim for gold. Okay, now that's a very, very, very important commitment, but that's going to demand a lot from us. We have some of our team here, and they've been doing a fabulous job in getting us certified. We don't depend only on their work. We have to work with the clubs to change some things in our infrastructure, in our guidelines of Liga. But I think, we did it in about 2 months, the certification process. Of course, we benefited hugely from previous certifications. Some of the job was already done, but 2 months of producing new documentation, going through the process, having a very, very demanding British standards institution auditor who would not let anything pass. It was really demanding, but in the end, we took many lessons from it. And I think we started on a journey which we want to complete. And well, gold is your golden standard, so to speak. So that's what we're aiming for.
Thank you. So the road to gold, you've heard it here from Paulo. Maybe this time next year we'll be on the panel and we will see. But it's just a point to say that the standards are incremental, so you can't get gold without bronze. The next level up is silver, so probably go for that and then go for the gold. But I love the ambition, and again, it's about leadership. Bringing you back into the conversation, Alberto, how can a global movement like SIGA support the leagues through these challenges? You mentioned this sort of patchwork of different governance models across the leagues. How can you ensure that coordination and that collective action really does impact all of the leagues?
Well, I will not mention just the leagues, but the sport movement in general. I think a lot has been said by Emmanuel, but also by Pedro Proenza at the beginning. I mean, SIGA has a good competitive advantage. On the other hand, is also a challenge. Is the fact that you are absolutely free and independent, right? So from one side, this is very positive, and actually, there are only positive things. The challenge is also the fact that you are free independent, right? So that a lot of sport organizations really, oh, do you really need to open our books? Do you really need to open our closet to somebody that will really come here with a critical eye, you know? So it's, there is a need of a cultural change, and for this you need champion organization, right? So that is positive that Liga for Portugal decided to follow this path, and hopefully there might be other leagues following the same example. And actually, I would actually encourage Liga Portugal, because our network, we are all friends, we know each other very well, to share the path and all the work they've been doing with SIGA. I mean, SIGA should keep raising his voice and making organization accountable. I mean, ultimately that's the work, and as Vito said, to make organization accountable, you need to have the instruments to measure certain things, whether are numbers or whether are organizational models, or whether are organizational chart. Governance, as I said, is quite a complex and wide word. But ultimately, I think SIGA is doing a great job, and you have to keep making a sport and football organization and league organization accountable. Right? I think you are on a good path.
Thank you very much. I know our CEO will be very pleased to hear that, and will continue to work the team to make sports movement accountable. Vitor, I'd like to go back to you. How can sport learn from the financial industry that was also regulated following a reputational crisis? Because we had Richard Webber on the previous panel, who, you know, with the IRS and the FBI brought FIFA down there for a period of time. There has been that reputational crisis. Where there's a crisis, there's a disruption. How can we learn from that?
Well, it's the question is that at the time, going 20 years back, we have a wonderful system with a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, a lot of laws. And then it becomes the MROMs, the WorldComs, the holds, the Parmalats, and so many situations that people need at the time to think about what they're going to do. And so Sarbanes-Oxley is one example for what they do. And the question is that with the different regulations that at the time, normalizations and more active over the guys that were in the terrain, they make a better world for financial industry. Not a perfect world. We still have some incidents here in Portugal. For instance, the CEMVM is doing his job, trying to do his job, but unfortunately, sometimes we have some incidents, and all over the world it still happens. But I think that to have an organization like SIGA, and with the recognition, the recognized like SIGA is at this moment, can be something that with the political also, because we don't have, we cannot forget the politicians, but with the political head help, I think that SIGA is the right organization to make less problems in the world of sports, not only football, but all the other sports that move, as I said in the beginning, millions of euros and dollars.
So the answer is SIGA, which in Portuguese and Spanish means to go straight ahead. And I know because I did name the organization. So we've got 5 minutes, 41 seconds left. And I would really love to just, we don't have, apart from myself, female representation on the panel. Helena from Liga Portugal was going to be here, but she has a million things to do. So it is despite our best efforts, and sometimes that is the case. apart from being the technical lead for the SIGA Independent Rating and Verification System, I lead a SIGA Women Global Mentorship Program. It's great to see some women here in the audience. Put your hand up, give me a wave. A lot of you were at the WOW dinner last night, Women on Wednesdays, and I'd like to ask just each panelist, just 1 minute, how can we deliver the change for gender equity on the board of sports organisations? There is progress being made, but how can we spur the change? So that's a final question. We didn't prepare for it, and we'll move along the line. Over to you, Paolo.
Okay, I suppose one way is to legislate it, and this has been done in Portugal. But I'm happy to say we do have a good track record at Liga. At a certain point, we had 1 president, 3 executive directors who were women, and currently we only have 1, Helena, which was supposed to be here. But we've demonstrated that we do not hire to these important positions based on gender, as in male gender is preferable, but we hire on the basis of merit. And we've had several executive directors who are women and very competent. I've worked with all of them and very happy to have learned from them very, very much.
Thank you, Vitor.
Well, I think that more events with not so many money will be a good idea to develop sports. That's it.
Roberto, and maybe you could share the new Mel, because you had your new mascot.
Yeah, in Brazil, we have a lot of job to do regarding this issue. We must move really forward. One thing we did, Katie is asking me to explain. We at São Paulo, we have a mascot, which is the saint. São Paulo is the saint. He's been our mascot since 90 years. But we, from the integrity program, we created a new mascot for our team, not only for our team, but for our society, for our fans, which is female, which is a black female, and it's a kid. She's 11 years. And that's because we want some voice for fight against all kinds of prejudices, some legitimate voice, not a white male, 40, 50, 60 years old. So Mel is 11, she's black, she's a girl, and she's going to be the voice from our integrity program regarding gender equality, fighting against racism, which in Brazil it's some issue, and all kinds of prejudices. And regarding our board, we have a lot of job to do. I've been trying to write some rules, but in Brazil, I would be completely in favor of enforcement, law enforcement regarding this, but I don't think we're going to have. The new general law, sports law, has an article saying that we have to have 30% of female in the board, but it's not enough. We want gender equality. Therefore, we have a lot to do, but you can count on me, the women here in Brazil. You can count on me and Mel and my female team, which is really a female team.
And let's just not forget to mention that when we played the gender equity match on Monday night, that seems like a long time ago, the women were the better players, weren't they? And we won. Alberto, final thoughts on gender equity. We've done it. We've got a minute, so I'm done. I'm really. We've succeeded this panel on meeting the governance championship in terms of timing.
Thank you. Also because I have a flight at 6.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention that.
And well, I mean, we in our organization, at least, you know, I can start being autocritical because in our organization we have a board of 13 persons and they are all men. And today the board of the ECA has been elected in Berlin. Go to the ECA website, check, and I think they are all men with the exception of a diversity member that is there on purpose to occupy the seat and has no voting rights. You know, so I think we have to do a lot of homework. As I said before, we need organizations like SIGA to make us accountable. And probably it is because nobody is making now accountable that they will keep going and the way we are, you know. And so keep doing the good work, and I think there will be a lot of changes in the future. But on the other hand, I think that the level of gender equality is so low that I think that it's going to be easy to make big step quicker than the normal.
Thank you for your honesty and being so candid about that, and for your suggestions. We need more males and more mascots as males. And also the women in the room, please apply to the SIGA Women Global Mentorship Program. There's 1 week left. We're going to smash it. We're going to double the figures of mentors from 50 to 100. So great to see some of the mentors here today. So if you want to find out more, come and approach me. And I'd just like to conclude by saying, good governance, it's not just the right thing to do, it makes better business, and that's why you should do it. Thank you very much.